unwritten rules of Facebook.
It cut all of our ad costs by over 70%.
How do you want to be able to take in all of this data that's around us?
Some of these campaigns have done up to $20 million in sales.
I think this is going to be the future for the next 10 years.
And now here is The Win with your hostess, serial entrepreneur, marketeer, and chief sexy boss, Heather Havenwood.
Look, our whole world revolves around our iPhone, iPad, Droid. You know, they say we look at our phones on average 150 times a day. And if you're a small business and want to actually grow, you need to reach people where they're looking at and listening the most, their smartphones. See, marketing via text messaging is a great way to start, and it's super easy. Just text the word START to 72,000 to learn more about my friends at MaWhinney. They're marketing experts, and they will show you how to use text messaging for your business and to get more leads and convert them amazingly. Again, text the word START to 72,000. Again, that's text the word START, S-T-A-R-T, to 72,000. Hi everyone, welcome to The Win with Heather Havenwood, a place that you can learn to expand your mind, money, marketing, and everything in between. And I'm excited today to have someone on the phone that I actually got interviewed on his show, and he actually helped me create my name of my show. So he's a pretty cool stud dude, and he's in Canada. Hey Marc, are you in the line?
Hey, I am here. How are you doing?
How you doing? I love your accent. I've always loved your accent. It's kind of sexy. So,
I've never heard Canadian accents be called sexy, but you know,
they are.
I guess some people like A and a boot and all that.
A. Well, you know, we love Canada up there from the United States. You know, you guys hang out with us. We're fun. You guys are fun. We kind of, let you guys hang around. That's what we call Canada. We let you guys hang around. But here's the deal. So who's Marc? Who is Marc? If you don't know who he is, he's extraordinary, but he's on a mission to help coaches build stronger businesses. That's what we're going to talk about today, is how do coaches really build a business? He's also a lifelong entrepreneur. He achieves this with his podcast, Natural Born Coachesâ, which I've been on, and his coaching programs with his popular Facebook group, quote, The Coaching Jungle, which it really is. The Coaching Jungle is definitely out there. He frequently makes media appearances and is a contributor for Entrepreneur.com. You can learn more about Marc at Natural Born Coachesâ. So the first thing I want people to know about you is the name of your podcast. You and I had this amazing conversation. We're talking about it real quickly about how you came up with your name, which I found fascinating. And from someone who's constantly creating stuff and then thinking of like, oh crap, what am I going to call it? What was your little way of figuring out Natural Born Coaches? Do you mind sharing?
Sure. Well, when I decided to launch a podcast, I did what everybody does. And, you get the yellow legal pad out. You just start scratching names and you think, oh, maybe that's not good. And I was getting really frustrated because any name that I did like, I would check and there would be maybe not a podcast with that name, but there'd be a coaching website with something similar. And I didn't want, you know what it's like. You don't want the confusion. So I threw my hands up. I said, you know what, I'm just going to just bounce some ideas around. And I went to the Billboard charts, for the top music hits for the year and looked through from 2014, because that's when I launched the show, went all the way back from the top, 100 songs of every year from 2014 back to 1990. And I was inserting my keyword or keywords into each of the titles. So mine being coaches or coaching. I knew I wanted something, with that word in there. And I plugged it into a bunch of songs and nothing was working. So I had some really horrible names that were on the list. For example, New Coaches on the Block was one of them.
Oh, my God. Oh, my gosh. That would be awesome. I love that.
Yeah, and I actually had that domain. It's now available. It's out in the wilderness if anyone wants to grab it. I know it's a real hot domain there. I should have kept it and tried to sell it for $1 million. But yeah, it was pretty lame. New Coach on the Block. So nothing worked for songs, for bands and musicians and stuff like that. So I said, okay, I'm going to go to movies. And I started with 2014 and worked my way all the way back down. And by the time I got into the 90s, I was getting pretty frustrated because I just wasn't seeing anything. And I got down to Natural Born Killers, Oliver Stone's, great movie with Woody Harrelson and stuff. And I inserted coaches in there, Natural Born Coaches. I'm like, oh, hey, that actually works. It fits what I'm trying to do. And a lot of people feel they're natural born coaches. So it just kind of rolled off the tongue. So I grabbed that one, and that's how I did it. So sometimes when you're trying to come up with names, it helps to do some different things just to get the creative juices flowing. I haven't heard of any other people doing that, although I've recommended people do it that way just to see what they can get going.
No, I did. I mean, I took your advice. I did that, and I did that myself, and I went back and I did movies, because they're right. I mean, think about it. Hollywood, they're amazing at naming things.
Yeah.
Things that we can remember. They know how to name a movie, right? And so it's Gone with the Wind. I mean, there's so many out there. I think I remember that. Gone with Entrepreneurs. Like, I did all kinds of things with entrepreneurship. And I ended up at the Win because it was like the simple. It's like the Win. And if you notice with movies, it's very simple. Like Born. I have Jason Bourne. I bought tickets for the new Jason Bourne movie, so I'm all excited. Bourne Supremacy. I mean, it's like simple, right?
Yeah.
So Mission Impossible. Ta-da! Right. So then they build everything around that. So I absolutely love that. I just wanted to get that out there and really give you massive credit. I actually use that technique. I'm in the middle of creating another course, and I'm like out there like, let's go back to the bill and just go back to that legal pad. So thank you for that, and I hope you guys take that on. So let's talk about why I brought you on today. This whole world of coaching. Now, I come from a marketing space. I don't come from my coaches space, like the coachy space. So, but I consider myself a marketing coach. And I feel like there's two spaces, like the marketing world, and then there's like the coaching world. Now, this is my view. I could be completely wrong. Feel free to tell me I'm wrong. But they have these different worlds of marketers sell stuff. And then coaches, like, they don't sell, right? They coach. It's a very different world. And then there's this, you got to marry both. You have to sell. So I want to have a conversation with you today about that. How to sell as a coach. Meaning, how do you get people on that, quote unquote, free consultation, or does that even work? Like, how do you do it, or how do you help other people do it? What's that transition? Hey, I'm a marketing coach. How do I get people on the line with me to make that conversion? How do you do it?
It's tricky for a lot of coaches because there's a huge, I think, mindset block in the coaching world with a lot of coaches.
Why is that? And I don't mean to interrupt you, but why is that?
I think it's a lot of there's a few reasons, but a lot of people get into coaching I've been surprised by the number of introverts who've, say, for example, come on my show, people who admit, which I would have never thought they were, but they've admitted that they're introverts or they're empaths. They're very sensitive people. They want to help people and stuff, and they sort of recoil a bit at selling because they think, sales is icky. Now, me, I come from a real estate background, so you know what real estate's like, because I know you've.
Oh yeah, you got sell.
You got to sell. If you don't sell, you don't eat, right? So
yeah, no.
It was a little bit easier for me because I was used to it. But a lot of coaches come from. I've met a lot from teaching backgrounds, human resources, other places that they didn't have to sell. And a lot of them think, okay, I'm going to get into coaching and I'll be coaching 80, 90% of the time. And then the other bit of time will be just tidying up the paperwork and doing a little bit of marketing. But most of the time will be spent coaching. And you know that it's actually flipped where you're spending 80% of your time marketing and trying to get clients. And a minority of your time is actually spent coaching and doing that. I mean, it would be a perfect world if you didn't have to market and people came racing to you and you could just coach all day long. But I think you're right. You got to marry the two of them, because if you can't sell, then you can't help, and you're not going to stay in business. You could be the best coach in the world. If you can't sell your services, no one's going to work with you. They're not even going to know that you're out there.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's really true. I can see that from like if they are in a guidance counselor or counseling position or human resource, people just come at you. There is no, you go at them. And in real estate specifically, you go at, you have to, in a world, I used to call it the attack. You're attacking, you're going out there, you're fishing, you're constantly fishing for the real estate, for the deal, for whatever. You're constantly fishing for the deal. So it is a different shift, I'm sure, if they're like come from that space of guidance counselor or counseling or therapy or any of that space, introvert, and now they have to go out to the, what I call the defense, right, versus offense. So how do you, so let's talk about that. Like not the coaching business, because there's all that about the coaching business, but let's just talk about a coach is like, I am now a coach. How do I market thyself to get to a point where people will say, I raise my hand, I want to get on a phone call with you. That little piece is a big piece.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Well, a big problem is we're being bombarded by all these ads from, the 7-figure guys that you can make 7 figures working just a couple minutes a day. And you could do it in a month if you pay me X amount. So they're seeing all these ads and they're thinking, okay, it's going to be easy. But you know what it's like. My first year, especially coaching, was just work, and just crazy when I look at the amount of effort put into it. But I think a lot of coaches don't realize that you're building a business. Like any business, that you have to be patient. You have to put the effort in, and you're probably not going to be compensated right in the early stages. I mean, it's just like real estate. My first 6 months of real estate, I was back then paid probably third world wages if I worked it out, for the amount of hours. And coaching's the same way. So coaches aren't doing the consistent things like getting out there. They're staying. I say there's an imaginary line, and that line they have to get over is where they're in front of people and getting their message out there and connecting with people. But most coaches are spending time behind the line when they're working on their logo, the banner for their website. They're getting the flyer together for whatever they're doing, and they're doing these little things setting up, but they're not actually getting out in front of people enough. And it's just little things like, for me, a big thing for me to get going was posting in Facebook groups. I mean, Facebook's kind of my preferred place, but other people prefer LinkedIn, and some might be Twitter or whatever. But for me, it was just daily posting in groups that had my people in there and consistently. And it took some time, consistent daily posting, probably a month or a couple months to where people started to reach out to me. But most coaches will do it for a couple days. It doesn't work. They don't get a client. They say, oh, this is stupid. It's not working. So I'm not going to keep doing it. And they're just not consistent enough.
Okay. So this is great, by the way. I love that, going into groups and talking. But I want you, and I didn't tell you I was going to do this. All right. So brace yourself. Ready? Okay.
Yeah. Those are things you never want to hear on an interview.
Oh, I know you're prepared for this. It's okay.
Yeah.
I want you to coach me. This is a different kind of podcast. I want you to coach me. So me, right? I'm a marketing coach, and I have a podcast. I've been out there as a guest over 100, 120 times. I lost count as a guest on podcasts. I put myself out there. You see me. But I don't get a lot of people to raising their hands and say, I want to coach with you. How do I mean, use me as a case study. I mean, I'm sitting over there. I'm putting myself out there all the time. It's not, people probably might be surprised I'm being so open about this. But I am. I want you to tell me, because I don't get a lot of people saying, hey, let me coach with you. There's a shift. Putting myself out there is one thing. I'm great at that. What the difference is getting people to say, I want to coach with you. That's the shift.
Yeah.
How do I do that? Use me. Leverage it.
Well, first with the podcast, the podcast is just one leg on the table. So a lot of people think, oh, I'll get a podcast going, and then that's where everyone will come from. The podcast helps when you're doing other things, and then they check you out. Oh, I want to know more about, Heather Ann and see what she's doing. And then, oh, cool, she's got a podcast. Then they're going further. It's giving you that instant credibility. I'm cheating a little bit because I remember very specifically in our conversation on my podcast, you shared something that always stuck in my mind. And I won't go into the whole thing. We talked about niching, remember? You talked about the Homer Simpson example where, in a nutshell, basically you have to identify who your ideal target client is, and you want to know everything about that person, just like even a casual watcher of The Simpsons knows Homer Simpson, roughly how old he is, who he's married to, how many kids he has, what he does for work, how much he makes, where he spends his off hours drinking in the bar, and what he's drinking. We know Duff beer and so on. And it doesn't mean every single client is going to be exactly like Homer or whoever you identify, but it just gives you that a character that you're talking to. It's a lot easier when you're putting your messaging out there, because now you're not just throwing it out to 7 billion people in the world. You can target it a lot better. But I would ask you, I'd say, okay, who's your target client, Heather?
Oh my gosh.
Besides Homer Simpson. Yeah,
it's not Homer. This is a great question. So for my dating business, I'm very clear on that. We call him Bob. I'm going to call my, I haven't done this work with this particular marketing client here's the problem. I think it is, I've been going back and forth if it's like a Jane or a Bob. I think it's a Jane, meaning female, male. Okay. It doesn't matter.
Okay. Yeah.
So I think it's female. Okay. I think it's female person who has an idea, or they've made their first dollar. That's the key. They've made their first dollar in the thing, whatever the thing is. And then they're like, how do I make this into a business? Or how do I grow this business with online? That's my client.
Okay.
That's my client. Like,
So then the next step I would take with someone is, okay, well, a couple questions. Where are those people at, and where do you enjoy for example, I'm not big on some social media networks like Pinterest and Instagram and stuff. I just don't resonate with them. For me, it's Facebook. Maybe it's different. Yeah, I know you're a Facebook person, but for some people it's different ones. But I would say, okay, where are you going to find them? You got to make sure that the fish are in the pond there, and then also, how are you going to connect with them? So for me, I enjoy writing. I do video and obviously podcasts and stuff, but I really love writing. So for me, it was easy to get the message out there in, say, Facebook groups and other things because I enjoy writing. Some people may hate writing. They may be more video. And if that's the case, then say, okay, that's how you want to connect with people then if it's video. But only you could answer that question. But you have to make sure that it's something that resonates with you, that you to reach them. There's got to be something that you have as a vehicle to get there. So when I started, it was the daily. I was doing my podcast daily at the time. It's now down to a lower frequency, twice a week. But I had the podcast and I had the posting in the Facebook groups. And now I do daily emails to my list. I've been doing that since April of this year, and I'm a big fan of that. But you have to have something. And most coaches don't have that consistent go-to thing. They just dabble with a bunch of different things instead of doing one thing really well.
So let me ask you this. Do you put yourself out there and say, hey, I'm a coach and go check me out or is it like, I contribute, if you want to work with me, here's how you can? What's the angle you take when you're going to the world of Facebook groups? Specifically, let's just go there.
Well, I had Bob Berg on the podcast before, the Go-Giver and Endless Referrals and some great books. And Bob said something that stuck with me. He said, Mark, money is an echo of value. So basically, if you put enough value out there, it's going to be reflected in your wallet and in your bank account. And that's a hard truth for some coaches to swallow. When I speak with them, they say, I've been doing this and it hasn't been working. And then we dig a little bit deeper, and I have to tell them, there's a good chance you're not giving the value. There's something disconnecting there. So a lot of coaches think, well, I'm going to share motivational quotes or images on my wall, or in groups or something, and that's good stuff. Don't get me wrong, I like motivational quotes and images, but you need a little bit more than that. So I always tell them they have to get their own voice out there, and they have to share stories, experiences, strategies, things that will help their target market, as opposed to just sharing a quote from Tony Robbins or Oprah Winfrey or Maya Angelou 10 times a day. If we want to hear that, we can get that all over the internet.
I think it's interesting you said that. There was a friend of mine, I wrote that down, money is an echo of value. Great quote. And there's a friend of mine, Scott Garrison, years ago. When he first did this is like 10 years ago, I was like, God, he is like an ego. He's got some serious, I was really negative all around him, but now I get it. So what he would do is, and like his emails and stuff like that, he would quote himself. Like something like that. Money is like, he would own his quotes. It's like, why not? Oprah does it. Everyone, Tony Robbins does it. Why not create that? Right. Yep. And so now I love that. It's like, why not quote yourself? Why not create a quote that's like, this is your value you add to the world? And Mark, it's very different. If I get a Facebook post and it's from you, it's on, it's in your wall, and I see it on my feed, and it says something that you said, Mark, right? It's way more like, oh, okay, I really like his value, versus if I see something on your post and it's from Tony Robbins, it's like, I like it, right? It's a little more disregarding because it doesn't bring me into your world. Maybe you said something, I'm like, oh, I really like that. Now all of a sudden I like Mark more. Like, oh, I really like Mark versus, oh, I like Tony. I mean, we all like Tony, so I agree with that, but you can flip that. If you really like the quote thing, it's like, create your own quotes, like create your own space and statements out there in the world. Now, I don't know if that's a value, I have no idea, but I just want to throw that out there.
Well, yeah, one thing I do with clients, I call it your last 10. And what I mean by that is you take a look at your last 10 posts on wherever it is. For me, Facebook, some people might be LinkedIn, whatever, and look at your last 10 posts and see what they are. And a lot of times when I'm speaking with a potential client, I look at their last 10 and 9 or 10 out of the 10 are just other people's stuff. They're sharing a blog post from entrepreneur.com and they're sharing the quotes from the gurus and the other people. And I don't know anything about them. It's really hard to connect. Another thing, I mean, there's a coach that I've known for a couple of years now, and she's been active in, different communities. We're in the same communities and stuff. But I noticed with her that I'd never seen her post a picture or a video really of herself, especially video is where I noticed it. And I said, why aren't you shooting any videos? And she had like a wart or a zit on her chin or something, she said, and she was afraid, like conscious of that. But I said, I know you from doing different, chats on Skype and stuff, but other people don't. It's hard to connect if you're just sharing those motivational images and stuff. People want to see who they could be working with, and there's a disconnect there. So I think that that's important as well. Is if you're, I know another coach who I've dealt with, great guy, very passionate with what he does, but for a couple different reasons, he doesn't want to have his face out there because he's got another job, and he doesn't want to have that complication, he says, but that makes it really difficult if there's no picture. People are like, okay, who is this?
Yeah, who is this guy behind the randomness? No, I completely concur with that. That's the interesting part about connection. What's so funny is I'm listening, thinking to myself. I don't have it open, but I'm like, what are my last 10 posts? And a lot of it is sharing. Other than yesterday, I'm starting to do Facebook Live every Wednesday at 12 Eastern, right? So I've done 2. Okay, I've done 2. I'm not like a master at it. Here's where I learned. So the first one I did, I think I had like 1 viewer, okay? But I had like over, after the, you do it, and then you have so many viewers live, and then you post, and then you have views after that, okay? So I didn't really focus on who was listening at the time because like there's one person, okay? But I ended up doing I think it was 250 views at the end of the week. But yesterday it was different. So yesterday, I'm telling you this so you could learn from it. I'm telling you my lessons on my skinned knees and broken eyes here, broken nose. As I did it, and there was like 15 people. I had 15 people that were live. But again, I didn't go talk to them. It was like, oh, great, I'm glad you're here. But it was really about creating the content for me at the time. Now, I had a friend of mine go, why did you talk to us? I'm like, I don't know, because I want people to really look at the content like a week from now and really get the content and get me. But maybe I'll be open to that. And I was scared there was only one person and only talking to like my dog, so that was the other part. But here's the thing I learned. When you do Facebook Live on your cell phone, I was using I put words on a piece of paper, okay, to like number 1, number 2, number 3, like really simple. But it's reversed, so people couldn't read it. And so people are Skyping me like, hey, we can't read it. It's backwards. It's revert. You have to reverse it. I'm like, how do you do that? So these are just things I've learned. But here's the question I have for you. And so I'm like, well, it's out there. And people can now reverse. They have to like listen to it, not look at my little notes there. They're all backwards and reverse. So here's the question I have for you. So getting the connection out there is great. Posting more is great. Getting value. But again, that's the question I have. How do you get people to say, yes, I want to get on the phone with you? Because in my experience, maybe this is my experience. In my experience, people post and blah, 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 but getting them to get on a phone call with me is been challenging. How do you do that?
Well, people do have their backs up a bit because they're getting sold to so often nowadays, right?
Yeah.
So they're naturally skeptical. Oh, gee, why does Heather want to get on the phone with me? She's just going to try to sell me. I don't want to be sold. Here's one thing I did, and this isn't scammy or sleazy or anything. This is providing value, and then it's reciprocal. So what I did was I would create a really high value resource, PDF or something like that. One of them was a Udemy course, and then I would offer it to people, and it was either in a group or it was on my personal wall where I've got a lot of my target clients on my personal list. And I would say, guys, today I'm offering, trying to think of an example. One PDF was how to get interviewed on podcasts. It was like a 10-page, I put a lot of good stuff in there. So if you want to get on to more shows, it requests this PDF raise your hand, basically comment yes on this post. It was one of those, and got a bunch of people, right? And then I sent it to each of those people, and I followed up a couple days later, hey, Heather, just checking in to see if you had a chance to read that PDF. Curious, what's your feedback on it? And it starts a conversation. So I don't jump in there like a horny teenager and say, hey, Heather, how are you doing today? Can we hop on the phone there? I've got a coaching package for X thousands of dollars I'd love to chat with you about, because you're just going to recoil and you're going to be turned off, right?
Right,
but,
right.
But
horny
if you've
teenager.
received, on prom night, yeah, that's right. But if you've received this PDF and it's good, it's not garbage, you got lots of good stuff from it, of course you're going to talk with me, and then, we're going to see. But one thing that I do when I get those conversations going, I think it's very important to get the conversation going. I'm not a big fan of doing these deep dive 2-3 hour free coaching sessions that I see a lot of coaches doing. And I know that there's some big names out there that recommend doing it. They say, get out there and just coach your butt off and knock their socks off, and they'll be so impressed that then they're going to hire you. In my experience, that's not the way to do it. My conversations with people are, 30-minute ones where I'm not just giving them a bunch of stuff for free, because what's that saying? Why buy the cow when you get the milk for free? So you have to do them the right way. It's one thing to get them on the conversation, on Skype, phone, or whatever, but then you have to also handle it properly after that.
So that's really awesome. I made the mistake. I'm going to share a little story. So, it's almost been a year ago. I got on the phone with the guy, and that's what I did. The free consultation became this like deep dive. I mean, I gave him so much that he got off the line and he was what I call full. Like he was like, whoa.
Yep.
Like I gotta go implement that. Yeah. And I'm like, oh shit. I coached myself out of the potential of a client. You know, and that was like, it's a sales conversation. So let's talk about that, what I call one-on-one consultation call, 30 minutes. What do you do? Is it just like, here's what we can offer, here's what I do, let's connect, and then just move into the pricing? What's your flow of that call?
It's not that I don't give value, because I do give value. I give suggestions. Maybe I recommend a book that they should definitely read, that, something pops up in the conversations with them. So I'm giving them something, but it's not like, I've been on those calls too. I mean, I think every coach has, where it feels like an interrogation, like they're shining a lamp in your face and just firing question after question, and you feel like you've been picked over, right?
Yeah.
So I want to know a few things. I mean, I want to make the connection and let them know first that, hey, this is confidential, right? Because they may have never dealt with a coach before, and they may be holding back. And once I say, look, what we're talking about today, I want to let you know this is confidential. I'm not sharing this anywhere. And I just want to ask you some questions and find out more about your goals, and then I want to find out where they're at and ask them what their goals are and what are their challenges. They wouldn't be probably on the horn with you if there wasn't an interest there, a need, I guess, something that had to be filled, or they wouldn't be wasting their time with it. So once we identify a challenge, I'm thinking, okay, what can I do? Well, first of all, can I help this person? Some people, it's not the right fit for whatever reason, so I'm not going to, offer something out there. Then I'll just look at it as being, okay, that was a call, got to meet someone, and, hopefully I help them out some. But I don't do what I did when I first started coaching, and that was I call it the pulse test. If the person had a pulse, then, hey, I'll take you on as a client. Or if you could fog a mirror, hey, come on board, we'll work together, which is really bad. I don't do that anymore. I just turned down a client today because I could tell he was a pain in the ass from our conversations, and he's haggling. And I'm like, I don't want to deal with this guy. And I said, look, it's not going to work out. Best of luck. And then he's surprised, like, what do you mean? Because he's probably not used to. Some people think if you're offering money, then every coach is going to take it, and every coach isn't. I don't hassle, and I said, it's just not going to work, and best of luck or whatever. And I think he was kind of surprised.
No, that's interesting. I've actually had that too. I'm like, well, this is my price. Well, I'm like, I don't have any money right now. I'm like, well, then we're not a fit. Like I don't. Well, if you coach me for a while for free, no, I don't need to do that. Like I've been doing this for 15 freaking years. You're getting 15 years of marketing experience very quickly. No,
Well, this guy tried to haggle with, he said, Mark, I don't need everything that I think you're going to be doing. So can we just do kind of parts of it and I'll pay you half? of what you'd normally. Well, first of all, how the heck do you actually regulate that?
Yeah,
you
how
know?
do you give half? Like, no, this
It'd
is
be the same as if, let's say you and I were working together and I said, here's the fee, Heather, and you paid and stuff. And then I come to you in a week and say, oh, Heather, I gave an extra suggestion on the last call. Remember I told you about that book? So I'm going to tack an extra $50 on just because of that suggestion. You know, of course you wouldn't. But here he thought, okay, I could back services out that I don't think I'll need. And, you know, my spidey senses have really gotten very well tuned after doing this long enough that I can tell who I'm not going to enjoy working with. And it kind of just says, danger, danger, get the heck out of there and don't deal with the person. And this person wasn't that he was rude and cursing me out or anything like that. You know, he's a nice enough guy. But just some of the stuff that was said. And then finally with the haggling, I just said, no, look, this isn't going to work out and best of luck, you know, and moved on. It's not worth it because that one person will take away my energy from all my other clients and it's going to hurt them.
Right. Exactly. So that's interesting you said that, and it's only 30 minutes. No, I agree. That's pretty powerful when you're able to say, yeah, this is not going to be a good fit, a good client. You know, my boyfriend is, he does a similar program where you lose weight in 30 days, and so the price point's around $2,000. Okay. And it's very intense, and there's no haggling on the price, right? And so what happens is like, well, if I just buy the products, because there's products involved, it's going to be like a quarter of the price or whatever. And he's like, yeah, but you're also getting me. Like, you're getting me walking you through this process. Yeah, you can go to Whole Foods and buy $200 worth of products. Yeah. That doesn't mean it's going to work for you and it's going to actually get you the results, right? So buying the product is one thing. Like in our world, buying a Udemy course or how to buy, how to do Google Analytics or whatever is not going to get you the results when I can share with you that process on actually how to get clients. Right?
Well, yeah. And the problem is too, if you cave for that person, you think, okay, well, I need the money. I'm going to take the client on.
Oh, it's the worst. I've done that.
They
always end up the worst clients ever.
Yeah, and then you think, why would I do that? How could I be so stupid? But I also think you're hurting your confidence every time you do it because you're really saying, I don't think I'm good enough to get other people. I got to take this person at a discount. And then it's funny, every time I've let someone like that go and let them move on, someone else has come in and taken their place. And then I'm like, thank God I'm not dealing with Mike or Mary or whoever. This person's a much better fit. So you do have to trust the process and take a bit of a leap of faith there, but it's not worth it. And it was the same way I'm sure dealt with that in real estate. Yeah. I would take on the client from hell. I'd have to work with them for 6 months. Their house is overpriced by $50,000, but it's my fault because the sign is slightly crooked after the spring thaw. The sign's down 5-degree angle different than when it was put up. That's why it's not selling. It's nothing to do with the fact that we've grossly overpriced it and it stinks and we don't clean the house. It has to do with how the sign's positioned.
Right. It's like there's no taking responsibility of, this happens all the time. And there was a coach actually that I got on the phone with, and I would love to coach with her. And her pricing, I think it's like $6,000 a month, something in that space. I would say $4,500 to $5,000. It's pretty high, right? Yeah. And here's what happened at the end of the call, right? Of course, she's like, do you want to do this? Or I was like, yeah, I want to do this. And I can't do it. And that hurt. Like, I can't do it. You know what I mean? And then there's this like piece of me. It's like, I want to coach with her. Because I had to say, and honestly, like, I can't afford that right now. Right. And then there's this piece of me like, and I'm not going to, and I told her, and I'm not asking you for lower your price because I honor that the fact that you are at that price. I honor that. Oh my God, I honor that. And like, I can't do it. So, okay, like I now am inspired to that, and it's a huge shift when you are in a space of someone's like, this are my pricing, and that those people have clients, and then there's like, I desire to work with this person, and then they can't write the check. To me, it's a dishonor to them to go, well, I'm special, I need you to haggle with me. There's like, no, I honor the fact that you are at that level. I honor that. Yeah. And I would do a disservice to me to ask you to lower the price.
Yeah, a big issue that I think a lot of coaches have is they're not willing to invest to hire somebody. And they're going around doing a lot of the free calls with people. So they're doing calls with Heather for 30 minutes, with Marc for 30 minutes, with John for 30 minutes. And then they're trying to cobble together all this free advice. and make it work. And it just doesn't work. And then they wonder, well, gee, why isn't anyone hiring me? Well, part of the problem is you're not willing to hire a coach yourself. So you're saying that you don't really believe in the process, or you're not willing to invest in yourself. I sent an email out to my list a few weeks ago, and I basically it said that those coaches are doing it wrong, the ones that are going for the free advice. And the way that I put it, I said it's the same as those inventors that created the crazy contraptions before the Wright brothers achieved flight. So you know the ones that had like the crazy wings and like they're held together by glue and tape and staples, and just totally dangerous. A bunch of people died. Well, I said that these coaches are the same way. They're trying to cobble together a coaching business just like those crazy contraptions, and it's probably not going to fly because there's just a bunch of free advice put together. Instead of finding a person that can really help you, investing in that person, investing in yourself really, and making it work that way. And I think that's, and don't get me wrong, I get what it's like to build a business on a shoestring, because when I started coaching, I was on a dental floss string, not even a shoestring, right?
I agree with that. Yes,
but there were parts, like, it really hurt. My first couple people I hired to help me with my business, and I think coaching should hurt, because then it made sure I was invested and I worked my butt off with it. If it was $20, I wouldn't have probably treated it as serious. But if you're not willing to invest in yourself, why the heck would anyone else invest with you? You don't have that confidence and you don't have that belief in coaching yourself.
Well, if you don't invest in yourself, how can anyone invest in you? I have a coach. I've had a coach for 5 years. Before that, I had a coach for 7 years. I've always had a coach. People ask me that. Why is that? And I have tons of mentors. But mentors are different to me. Mentors could be someone who's passed away. You know, like Jim Rohn is no longer with us, but he's a mentor. There's a distinction between mentor to me and coach, but a coach is someone who I have a conversation with. Like, it's my coach, right? So they have invested in me and having me win. But let me ask you this about group coaching. Let's talk about that. I don't know if you have a group coaching program or not. Yep. Yeah. So do you think that in the world of a coaching business, coaches should start with one-on-one first, and then group, or group, and then one-on-one? Like, what do you think of that?
Well, I think, first of all, I started with one-on-one and then I added group. But if I could go back in time, I would have added group to my menu a lot sooner.
Why is that?
Well, because I think that you shorten your learning curve. For one, you really improve as a coach because you're suddenly, well, take my group, for example. I work with 5 clients at a time on Zoom, video conference for my group. So every hour that I'm spending there is really like 5 hours if it was one-on-one, because I got 5 people at the same time. And it just really, it improved my confidence so much, and it just improved my skills. It helped my content creation because I had all these extra stories and examples and strategies that came out of those group things. But a lot of coaches are thinking, oh, no, I can't do group yet. I'm going to wait another year or 2 years. I just can't possibly do it. And I think that's the wrong way to look at it. I think you have to jump in and do it. So one-on-one is your, I think, best and quickest path to revenue when you get started. But I think that you should look at bringing group in a lot sooner than you're probably thinking of as a new coach. It's not. And not a lot harder. I think people think that it's going to be like you're a warden in a jail or something, and you got a bunch of inmates, spitting at you and stuff. Doing group coaching is not. And the other thing is it gives you a lower price point. If someone can't afford your one-on-one, it helps you keep your one-on-one prices up, because then you can pull that out of your back pocket. Well, look, you can't do one-on-one. Good news, I've got a group thing coming up. It's going to be 50% of this, and then we can still work together. So it's kind of win-win. All the way around, yeah.
So what's your group coaching pricing now? Can you discuss that?
My group, well, first, pretty open as we record this. My one-on-one for 12 weeks is what I do. So 3 months is my main package for one-on-one and for group. So my one-on-one is $6,000 for 3 months, but I'm only working with usually 5 people at a time as my goal. I don't need to get 20 or 30 clients, I couldn't handle that for one-on-one anyways. My group, I just bumped up earlier. Well, the last year it's been $1,500 for up to 5 coaches, and I realized I was doing a lot more a lot of work for 1,500, and I had to bring it up closer to the one-on-one. You know, even though there's not quite as much direct support because it's not one-on-one, still there's a bit too much of a gap there. So the group's 2,000 as we're recording this now, and I'll probably bump it up. You know, every 6 months I'll reevaluate it. But those are my price points. And then I've got my online programs that are $497, you know, for do-it-yourself, and people can get help from me that way. So I have just a couple ways that really people can work with me. I don't have 20 different options. Then it gets really confusing.
I think if there's too many options, it's
it's
simple.
confusing.
Yeah, no, so $497 price point, 2,000 for the 2,000 group coaching. Is that every month? Is that every 12 weeks? What is that?
No, the way I do it is I do it once a week for an hour, same time, same day every week. So we do it for 12 weeks, and there is email support in between, but I can't be hopping on Skype, you know, every day with them because it's a group program. So my one-on-one's a little different. I was going to ask you if you edit the show. I know my brother edits the show, and his team.
So by the way, his brother edits my shows.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, Matt, and hey Amy,
Matt.
and his team. So Matt will kill me. But I'll talk a little bit candid here. With one-on-ones, I've told, depending on the client, if I can joke around with them and if they have that sense of humor, I tell them, if you wake up at 3 a.m. and there's a dead hooker in the bed, give me a call.
I love that. Well, that's true. Like, that's the kind of coach you want. You want someone in your corner.
I'm a partner with them now. I'm happy to report that nobody has woken up with a dead hooker, and or at least that I can tell you about. We'll get into that on a future chat. But no, nobody's done that yet. But what my point is hey, one-on-one, we're business partners. I treat it really, really seriously, and don't hesitate reaching out. Don't wait in between calls. If there's an issue, reach out to me and talk. But the group, I can't do that because if there's 5 people in every group and they're reaching out to me every single day to hop on Skype and everything else, and pretty soon it's not group, it's really one-on-one. So I did have to get a little bit stricter and enforce boundaries because when I first started doing group programs, it almost became a hybrid where people in the group would reach out and then I would feel, well, okay, they've invested in the group thing, so, you know, if they need to hop on Skype for 15 minutes, we'll do that. Well, you can't do it because then it's not fair to your one-on-ones. So you have to make sure that you've got the rules in place when you do it. But I'm a big fan of group as long as you can keep those boundaries.
Do they for $2,000? This is really great. I love this. I love business model conversations. I love it. I don't know why. So if you're bored, I'm so sorry, but I love business model conversations because when you understand a business model and the one that's working for somebody else, you can go, okay, I can do that. There's some structure. Yeah. So $2,000, someone pays right now, boom, $2,000. Do they get that group coaching for 12 weeks, or is that every single what's the? How much does that get? 12 weeks?
12 weeks in a row. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, great. So now, 12 weeks. Now, is it like a class, like open in, like class 1, class 2, or is it just ongoing?
I mean, you can set it up any way. The way I do it for my own group is we have a group starting, next, next month, the middle of the month's our first call, and then you have to commit by then, and that's when we do it. So those group ones are more, okay, you commit to it, and then it's the same 5 people and the same time, same day every week. I know other people do group things set up where they do, the large group calls. People can jump in at any time. So you might have someone that's been in it for 10 weeks and someone that's been in it for 2 weeks there. Mine are small groups where they get to know each other real well because it's the same people. Not to say I won't do it other ways, but right now as we're chatting, that's how I do them. So
okay, but no, the thing is, I like that because we as human beings are used to this thing called school. And school starts day 1, and then we have day 2, and we all go together. We're programmed since kindergarten and up. Right? Preschool probably, kindergarten up, and then in college. It's not like it's ongoing rolling enrollment or whatever.
Yeah.
So I really like that. I think we're trained as human beings that way versus hopping in and whatever, So I really like that. So this is so great. Oh my God, I'm getting so much juice out of this. Mainly because I've been in the information marketing business and online business for so long, marketing, here's what I call it. Excuse my language. Hardcore, it's it's hardcore selling. And there's no connection, right? So as far as a coach, and podcasting's been kind of a new space for me to kind of step back and go, oh, I want to connect with people and connect with them on, my 15 years of marketing and online and how I'm open now to coaching people. Because for a long time, I wasn't. People would ask me to coach. I'm like, I'm out. No. Mainly because I was focused on my business, but at the same time, I was rebuilding my businesses, and I felt I had no confidence to say, oh, well, I had a business and then it failed and then I had to restart. I didn't have that confidence to go out and say, oh, I'm going to teach you how to make money online when I'm like broke. Right. So I had a hard time with that. And so I didn't. So now that I'm making money online, now I'm out there going, oh, okay, now I want to coach now. Well, how do I make this shift from a hardcore marketing into a conversational selling? Really? I mean, maybe that's wrong. You tell me that was wrong saying that, but it really is more to me a conversation selling and how I can add value to your business or consultant.
Yeah, and I will say that I don't think anyone is, at least they may not admit it, but I don't think anyone's 100% confident when you jump into coaching. There is a little bit of, you got to fake it till you make it, or at least convince yourself that you're worth it. And I've always found that the biggest key, you don't have to convince the marketplace. The biggest person to convince is the one in the mirror that you're actually worth it. Once you get past that, everything else is a piece of cake. So I found that even with increasing my pricing, last fall, I increased my pricing by significantly, and my prices were already above industry average. So I was thinking, oh God, am I going to be living in a cardboard box under a bridge somewhere? And it worked out, but I had to just convince myself, no, you know what, I'm worth it. I put a lot into it and I help people and I'm worth every penny, and it's worked out. So you do have to convince yourself first. Yeah,
that's true. You got to, what do you call buy yourself.
Yeah.
All right.
Exactly.
Well, thank you for this. This is so awesome. So I kind of want to wrap it up. If you could, again, I'm putting you on the spot, which is great. Thank you for coaching me, by the way.
No problem. I'll send you the bill.
Yeah, no problem. That's fine.
Days. Yeah.
I'll take it. You can send it to me.
What's your address? Yeah, you're in Texas, right?
I am. You can send it to me. You can send it to me along with your brother's invoice. Yeah. Right. So, anyway, I need to pay his invoice. He just sent it to me yesterday. I'm like, oh. Speaking of invoice, I need to pay your brother's invoice. So absolutely. I mean, feel free to send me that bill. I have no problem with that, because honestly, I do value your experience in coaching and selling coaching and building a coaching business. It's very specific. It's very different. And I value you and your time and your experience. And people don't understand that it's really the experience and what I call the broken bones and the roughed up knees and stuff like that. You've hit the ground. You've kind of hit your nose and you've figured things out along the way, and you want to share that experience so that we don't have to, that we don't have to.
I threw a lot of spaghetti at the wall to see what would finally stick, and not all of it stuck, but luckily enough did, and then you improve. So I think my biggest advantage throughout, not just coaching, even before in business, but I'm not a perfectionist. I have to have something 10 out of 10. If I can get something that's a 7 out of 10, 7.5 or so, I launch it and then I work on improving it. But so many other people think they have to know everything and have it perfect. And, perfect it's impossible to achieve anyways. But if you're a perfectionist, then I think coaching or entrepreneurship probably isn't the right thing for you, because it's a bad combination.
Huge bad combination. My next book is called Don't Wait for Perfect. I'm already
there we go.
So I'm completely with you. Dan Sullivan talks about the 80% rule, which is do a project and your goal is 80%. Your goal is a B, right? Not 90 or 100%. Forget that. Just focus on doing something 80%. If you feel like, okay, I did it 80%, you actually are above average, as they call it. And
exactly.
He talked about an entrepreneur. He's the coach of entrepreneurs. He's amazing. So thank you for this. And I'm probably going to call this podcast Money is an Echo of Value. Can I call it that? Or did you want me to call it something else? Because I absolutely love that.
I think that's why I titled my episode with Bob, but that's fine. It's not like it's anything that's super, secret or copyright or whatever. I mean, that's a great quote. So yeah, go for it.
So adding value is how you, shift people to connect with you. Connecting is value, and so I love that what you talked about. It really has helped me. Thank you for coaching me. I didn't tell you I was going to do that, and you played ball. Of course, you're amazing. And where can people find you if they want to raise their hand and say, I like this guy, I need him to coach me? How do you do that?
Well, naturalborncoaches.com. So don't go to newcoachesontheblock.com. You won't find me there, but naturalborncoaches.com.
I wish right now I didn't have it set up. I didn't have my mixer set up. I would so be playing that right now.
Yeah. Yeah, and then we'll do Backstreet Boys.
Backstreet Boys. Oh my God,
time.
you're bringing me
and,
up.
And the sync will be next month.
Will you stop? You're making me old. Any millennials listening to like, what's that? Like, okay, that's like 1950s song. Thank you so much, Marc, for being on here. Go check him out, naturalborncoaches.com anytime. And again, this is The Win with Heather Havenwood.
Thank you for listening to The Win with Heather Havenwood. Interested in coaching with Heather? Go to heatherhavenwood.com and sign up for a business discovery consultation. Here is your free gift for listening. Get 3 audio chapters of Heather's book, Sexy Boss, How Women Empowerment is Changing the Rulebook, when you text the word sexy to 72000. Again, text the word sexy, that is SEXY, to 72000. And receive your 3 audiobook chapters. Number is good only in North America. For outside the USA, text SEXY to +1 323 457 2288. Text SEXY to +1 323 457 2288. Long distance charges may apply. Heather wants to hear from you. Questions you want answered on the show. Comments, interview requests. Email media@sexybossinc.com or leave a private voicemail. 51 Boss is me. Again, the number is 512-677-4763. Check out all of Heather's sites. heatherhavenwood.com, sexybossinc.com, e2lab.com, datingtriggers.com. This is a Sexy Boss Wrap. This podcast is a copyright of Havenwood Worldwide, LLC.